Today we're joined by Tarinee Wong, Chief People Officer at Puma Capital Group, where Tarinee has led the people team for over 13 years, so quite a while. Tarinee's experience really shows, I think, what happens with AI adoption when it is treated as a people project rather than simply as an IT project. In fact, it's one of the things that we often say is that this is a business problem, not an IT project, I should say. But I'll first start with you. So just tell me, you've led the function at Puma Capital for quite a while, but tell me about your role, parts of the business. I know that yours is not a straightforward role, so it spans across many areas. But let's start there.
So thank you firstly so much for having me on here. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. So I've been with Puma since before it existed. I am super fortunate to be one of the founding team of the business. Obviously, my CEO David started the business, but some of us rode on his coattails for a little while to do that. So it's been an amazing journey of working across the business from when we were 5 people all the way to where we are 150 people now. My role is enormously broad, which I love. It spans absolutely everything people related. It's a commercial role. I sit on the Excos. I also am very fortunate to work with some of our portfolio companies, doing fractional CPO work with some of those as well. So enormously broad role, which is super interesting and exciting.
So no day is the same then?
No day is the same, which is magical.
So something that I always ask, and I'm always interested with people, is and we'll get into AI and what you've done for the business, but on a personal level, before you started this transformation project inside of Puma, what was your own relationship towards AI like? Were you a sort of an enthusiast in the beginning? Was it not something that you really thought of? Were you a skeptic?
I think if I'm really honest, it sort of felt like something that other people were doing in the beginning. It sort of felt like it was going on, and it was coming up more and more frequently in conversations. And it was when I first went to a fantastic course run by London Business School, where I met HR directors and CPOs from across the world, and we talked about AI quite a lot in this 5-day course, and hearing what some of these people were doing in all sorts of varied businesses internationally, you couldn't help but get really excited about it. So it was sort of one of those things for me that I didn't pay much attention to, and then the minute I heard the possibilities and the capability of what people were using this for, I was sold, and I got super excited. So it was quite a binary reaction. It was something that was irrelevant, and then suddenly it was something that I was super excited about pretty quickly.
It's interesting. So I've heard that I've actually heard both. So I've heard that people like yourself just got very excited when you first heard of the possibilities of this, and I've also heard people having the sort of opposite reaction towards it. But so you took that enthusiasm and that energy, and you took it back to the CEO and the executive team.
Yeah.
And so what happened from there?
So what happened from there? I think it was a little bit of a journey. I think, again, to your point, different people have different reactions to it. So I think some people reacted with, this isn't relevant for us. We're a super successful business where we've got a great culture. Everything's working really well. It's not something that we need to pay attention to.
Yes.
But then there were a few other people who were early adopters as well. So it was like all good cultural projects. You will always have people that are early adopters, people at the other end who are laggards. But it was that bit in, it's called the movable middle, right? Yeah. So it was about getting those people who were sort of a bit on the fence more excited about it. But it wasn't a day one change across the business or across the leadership team at all. There were definitely it took some time to get people to see how this might add value to us as a business as well.
I mean, we still see it today with a lot of companies. So when we sort of categorize to some degree our clients internally, and it's sort of tongue in cheek, but sort of we see them as the ones who are sort of, hands over their ears and hands over their eyes, and then you've got others that are sort of like the deers in the headlights that know that they need to do something about it, but completely sort of bedazzled by it. And then you see others that are almost like the headless chicken. They're sort of running in one direction, no plan, but they know that they want to do something about it. And others that are hugely overconfident, actually, sometimes the most dangerous. But my experience with Puma has certainly been one that you've taken a very people-centric approach towards this, which I love, because for me this is all about the people. And there are a number of companies that see AI transformation to some degree as an IT project, but that's not where you are and how you see it, as far as I understand.
No, I think for us it goes to probably how we are as a business, frankly. Like almost everything that we do is people focused. I mean, if you speak to our CEO, he will often say, we are just our people. We've got nothing else. We don't make widgets or anything like that. So all we are is the capability and the expertise and the intelligence of our people. So for us, keeping people at the heart of everything that we do has always been really important. The challenge is sort of how you get a group of people, to engage with the transformational change that you want to bring through the business. How you take them alongside you on that journey is quite critical.
How did you do that? Because you said there was there was a variance to some degree across the executive team, which is perfectly natural. And it's very difficult to ever identify who is the one that's the most excited and the least excited. But your challenge to some degree was to bring everyone along with you. And that is not an easy thing to do in a company of 150 people.
No, and I think the bit we haven't talked about is there is also skepticism and fear related with AI. And I think we work in a regulated business. We have enormous amounts of incredibly sensitive information that we deal with as a business. We're really loyal to all of our clients and their data. And so there was a lot of concern about how we would work through those things as well. So it's sort of trying to marry up the operational challenges that you have working with AI, but also trying to win hearts and minds on this stuff. And I think, like most cultural journeys or transformation journeys, you have to start small, and there's no one silver bullet that will ever fix everything. So in terms of practically how we did this, we started with a small group of early adopters, and we worked on the system that we would want to use, like we use Copilot. As an organisation, it was important for us to make sure that the system that we chose was closed and regulated and safe, and all of that good stuff. So once we'd gotten through that, we got people to trial stuff, right? So, and then you get your ambassadors within the business who are able to say, hey, look, this is what I did, and this was really cool, and this is what's changed. And so you sort of start with that. And for us, one of our values is value creation. So we were very quickly able to show real life examples of things that we had done, or these early adopters had done within their functions.
So quick wins, early
quick
successes.
Wins, absolutely. And they were some of them were so transformational. And now we look back, 2 years on or whatever, and they seem so simple, but they just saved enormous amounts of time and angst and, all the data collection stuff that you can do so simply, and the analysis, etc. So we were able to use those as really good ambassadors within the business. And then, what we tried to do was really start linking into the market and seeing what other people were doing as well. I think AI is one of those things that we're all learning at the same time. And one of the things that I came across, which has been a really good slight buzzwordy, but it's sort of skill set, mindset, and toolkit. Right? If you've got those three things sorted with AI, then you can move forward.
Tell me more about that. I'm interested.
So, Toolkit is obviously which platform you use,
Yeah.
right? So giving people the tools. So we were able to roll out Dynamics for the whole, not Dynamics, sorry, Copilot for the whole
yeah.
company. So that's the toolkit. Skillset is giving people the training essentially to be able to do it. So we've obviously, as you know, partnered with your organisation to do that across the company, training absolutely everybody across the organisation. And that's been a really important part of this journey for us because we genuinely believe that everybody in every role is able to use AI to the benefit, you know, of themselves individually in their role, but also to the broader commercial success of the organisation.
Yeah. I've always felt that, by the way, that there was always a philosophy of no, without wanting to sort of make it sound grandiose, but it was almost like no person left behind. Like everybody got this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the mindset thing is, again, you know, helping people to, and this was the bit that's actually the hardest bit, you know, getting people to understand that this is something that is good for them to do. You know, ultimately, the messaging that we have tried to reiterate across our business is this is something that is coming. You know, there's no choice. AI is here. It is good for your career. You know, it is good for you to be able to do your job. It is also good for you to have the right toolkit, skill set to be able to do that, not just now, but also for your future career, you know, from a developmental perspective. But also, ultimately, our approach has always been quite human on this. So it's human-led, it's insight-led, and our strategy has always been about that. This, for us, you know, adopting AI within an organisation is about, again, it's, you know, it's sort of bit more about self-actualization, but on an organisational perspective. You know, how can we do everything better? You know, and that's again aligns really directly with our company vision, which is, you know, to do everything to set the standard beyond the benchmark. And AI is a wonderful example of how you can do that. So the cultural change we identified quite quickly was one of the most important parts of that, you know, and there's lots of data around this. McKinsey have written reports on it, Boston Consulting Group have done the same thing, that the biggest inhibitor to being able to put AI in place effectively within an organisation is through leadership and management. So that was something that we really intentionally focused on as an organisation, upskilling our managers, really leading from the front, making sure that they know that this is absolutely, you know, part of the expectations of being a leader and a manager in the business. Our CEO leads all of this stuff. You know, I help out. And so it's really, really about this being super people-led for us.
I mean, I have certainly, in the training classes that I've joined, have always felt that there was a real excitement in the room, which is very different to other organisations that we've been into where there was a real fear.
Right.
So I think part of that was because the communication had not come out beforehand about what is this technology, what is it going to do for you. We're training you because we want to make you better, not because we're somehow thinking of figuring out how we can make you redundant or take your job away. And so I have never, in all the time that I've been coming to the business, I have never felt a sense that anybody ever felt any level of fear. That people came into the classes very jovial, excited, and I think that is testimony to the way that it was handled before. And I've seen many companies, not through their own fault, they just didn't know, not handled that brilliantly, and created quite a lot of anxiety across the workforce.
I think to that point, I think in any sort of new cultural change or transformation project, I think you have to have quite high levels of trust, you know, and I think
before you start.
Yeah, absolutely, because people are naturally sceptical about anything related to any kind of change, right? Like you even try and put new desks in place. You know, people are like, where am I sitting? How is this going to impact me? Why are you doing this? Am I in a better or a worse position than before? So any people-related piece, you find the same types of challenges come up. And I think being really intentional about the things that you do and the messages that you communicate, and making sure that they come from the top and people are, the leadership of the business are as excited about these things and can demonstrate that they actually believe this to be an instrumentally positive thing to do is really critical. And we are a business that does have super high levels of trust as an organisation. We've got really great culture within our organisation. So we were able to quite quickly build on that because we had a really solid foundation in place.
Okay, so the leadership then, you led by example. So you all did the training?
Yep, absolutely.
All the leadership?
Absolutely. Every single person in the business did the training with you.
Yeah.
And you were super patient with us all.
Yeah.
And, we all learnt to build agents. We all learnt to do the stuff. We all, and you all know because you were in the room, right? There's different levels of appetite for that. We see it now, across different departments where there is more uptake. It's absolutely correlated with how leaders feel about it and how they're disseminating the message down. So everybody in our business, our CEO sat in those training sessions. Like nobody was exempt. We do very few bits of training that are mandatory across our organisation because we believe that development is owned by the individual.
It was mandatory.
It was absolutely mandatory. Okay. We didn't sort of beat people, but it was
was
very
strong.
No, it's like strongly encouraged, but also why have you not attended the training yet? You will make your way there, and I think actually because people have high levels of trust and because we've done so much communicating, you can't over communicate this stuff. That actually it's really good to hear people were really excited when they came in because they genuinely thought this was going to be super beneficial for them. Why wouldn't they be excited?
Yeah, it's funny. I found often that there is no. I have never seen a correlation between sort of experience inside of the workplace. So you can get those who are just starting out their careers, really coming from university, and those that 20, 30 years into their careers. And I've noticed a correlation between excitement or sort of trepidation and skepticism towards it based on that. What was interesting, though, is that almost telling some of those that are first coming into the workplace, because they wouldn't have been at the time when probably me and you still remember CVs that used to say on the top of them, I'm computer literate.
Yes.
I know how to use Microsoft Word and Excel. And there will come a time when people will look back and AI capability and skill set and fluency will just be a given, that everyone is able to use AI, to quite a high degree. And it's not something that you need to tell people. Like, you don't need to tell people now that you can use a computer. It is just accepted. But always saying to people that this is something you are a skill that you are going to need for your career, and that you are lucky actually that your company has invested in you to be able to take this skill that will go beyond your job here. It's something that you'll be able to put onto your CV, that when you go to your next job, you'll be able to talk about. And that I noticed was a little bit of an aha moment for some. And did you find that there was ever a difference speaking to those that were newer in their career versus those that had maybe been around for a while longer?
No, absolutely. Like I think not sort of. It didn't always correlate exactly to the point where early careers were more excited and people like me who are a bit longer in the tooth.
I never found that correlation.
It didn't exactly correlate actually. The correlation is more actually related to behavioural stuff. So some people just take a bit longer to like change, and some people are just more excited about stuff.
Wherever they are in that.
Yeah, so I think there were patterns, but they weren't related to how experienced people were.
It's interesting you found that as well, because I didn't expect that actually.
No.
But I have also found that to be true. It's more about personality types more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you're 2 years into this, yes? So
yes, crazy.
What would you say, looking back, like as the biggest success? Like what's the proudest moment along this 2-year AI transformation journey where you've really taken 150 people along this journey with you. What are you most proud of?
I think that we're just not at the end of the journey yet. So it's a really difficult one because it's crazy to me that we're saying 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Because it feels like it's gone in a heartbeat.
ChatGPT was only released onto the masses 3.5 years ago.
Yeah,
Like the world has gone through such change in a 3.5-year period.
So it's hard to pinpoint a proudest moment. I think what I have been really happy to see, and actually I will say really proud to see, is some of the really amazing stuff that people have done out of it, like the commercial change that's come out of it, and some of the projects that you see. Some
of the agents that people
have built. Like I'll give you a really small but important example. So. And it just shows you how these things can come out of, unexpected places. So one of our MDs who works in the growth capital perspective, so private equity type stuff, created an agent that took all of our policies, so HR policies, compliance policies, finance policies, and created an agent. We then worked as a multidisciplinary team to create something, and he's now called Ask Pounce, because Pounce is the name of our Puma.
Okay.
And we now have an agent that anybody in the business can ask a policy-related question to, and it can answer it. And that has taken away first-line questions from my department, for example. It's made a massive difference, right? People are like, how many days do I get for compassionate leave? Like they don't need to go and look up the policy or ask us or anything like that. But that was initiated by an MD in the business who really there was no benefit for him to do this particularly, but he created this agent. We then all worked on it. We had an internal company competition when we launched it, which was, ask Pounce a question. If Pounce can't answer your question, you win a prize. And so we did. We were testing it. So it was real life testing. Yeah. There was a question that Pounce was asked that he couldn't answer, and we brought it to life. And now Pounce is being asked lots of questions. So that's one very small example, but there are bigger.
It's actually a great example. And it's such a simple idea, but so powerful inside of the business.
And it was executed brilliantly. People were really excited. So people were just, there were lots of people trying to break Pounce, right? And Pounce was coming out with all the answers. And it was really fun. But also, from a commercial change perspective, we haven't done this because we wanted to reduce headcount or, my team are, snowed. Like it helps, right?
You're growing as a business.
Yeah, and then you get to do, and this is the other point of, that we've tried to say to people, what we want people to do is get AI to help with the less exciting bits of their job, so that what you can then focus on is the insights, the more cerebral, exciting bits of your job, and you can take away some of that stuff. So from a proudest moment, coming back to the question, I think getting people to, across the business, across function, to work together to build this thing in the first place, but then also seeing how excited the whole business was in engaging with it, and now they're using it continually. So it's something that isn't sitting in a cupboard somewhere useless. People are using this on a day-to-day basis, and it's materially changed everybody in the business's day, right? So I think that is something to be super proud of.
Yeah, I think it's a great example. The feeling, and it is, and you're right to address, like there is a feeling that AI gives people, particularly when they realise that the things that they least enjoy about their jobs, the more mundane sort of chores, aren't there anymore, or they can take those away and they can focus on the decisions and the evaluation and the judgment and so on. But that's quite a subjective sort of analysis of it. Did you also take more of a quantitative analysis and sort of measure how AI was being adopted across the organisation? Do you have any of those sort of more?
We do. We look at. I mean, to be honest, this is one that I think we haven't cracked perfectly. And when I talk to broader people in my network, other CPOs and CTOs, I'm not sure anybody has fully cracked this perfectly. I think we can tell you usage data. So we have 100% in usage across our organisation, apart from one department, which is 97%. And I'll take it, frankly.
Everyone using it?
Yeah,
everybody.
Everybody is using AI. I think what is more complicated is that can't be the only measure, because actually what you're trying to do is make sure that you're measuring the right things. So, where is AI being used to significantly drive the business forward? What is it being used for the right things? Is the information that's coming back being dissected and analysed and interrogated in the right way? That kind of stuff we haven't really, we're still at the start of that journey. And I think because we are a business that's quite diverse in lots of different things that we do, that I think will be quite critical in terms of how we look to to take this forward. So we haven't cracked that one quite yet. But if you know the answer, please obviously help us.
I mean, there are lots of ways of measuring AI. I would say that is true. And I think you're right. A lot of companies themselves are trying to figure this out. I would say one thing that I have noticed, which has been interesting, that I think this all started for many companies as a project of productivity. And there were companies out there that thought this is simply just going to be about the bottom line, that we'll be able to either do the same with less people. And I think that as the data comes out and I start seeing this, that it's actually not the case, that what this has become more about is, to some degree, elevation of output and people being able to fill the time that they have saved with AI doing other, as you said, sort of higher cerebral activity and looking at projects maybe that they had shelved that they can now look at again, and looking at the outputs that they've been offering to clients or even internally and seeing whether or not they can elevate that and give a better version of it. And so it's not so simple.
No.
And I think that it will take years actually to get the answer to that.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think on one hand you're encouraging everybody to to use AI effectively, but at the same time the output of what they're producing for us particularly is really what is really important is the quality of the human analysis on that AI. On that the data that AI produces. And so it's this challenge of how do you then make sure that that is absolutely correct? How do you take the AI as a foundation and a building block to make it better, rather than accepting whatever it produces at face value? So it's an interesting challenge.
Maybe we could probably do a separate podcast.
Yes, sorry.
I mean, it really is something I think all companies are grappling with at the moment. Yeah. And any company that says that they have figured it out, I don't think it's the case. No. So, having said all that, if you had it again to some degree, what would you have done differently? Let's say there are companies starting out on this journey now. What would you have done differently based on what you know now?
I think the way that you communicate this is the most important part of this. Making sure that you take your leaders, your managers, the messaging, the communication of this all the way through the organisation is fundamentally the most important thing that you can do as an organisation. And I think if I could have my time back again, I would have done that even more. Yeah. I would have absolutely worked harder to get maybe a few more laggards or a few more people at the other end of the movable middle on the journey earlier, because it's just been such a phenomenally important part of whether this has been a success or not.
And so, building on that, you're now sat in front of a counterpart of yours. That's another company, and they're about to embark on this whole journey. What do you tell them? What do you tell yourself 2 years ago? Yes, on the communication side you would have, but is there a way to approach this?
This is going to sound hugely cliched, but be really curious. Speak to all the people that you can inside your organisation, outside your organisation. There is an enormous amount of peer-led learning that my community, and when I say my community, I mean the wider HR community, are doing through our various network channels. You know, no company has got this totally nailed. It's a bit like COVID. None of us had had experienced how to deal with a pandemic before, and so actually there was a really great it was a really great opportunity for people to gather together and share knowledge with the mindset that, you know, we can do this really well for everybody working across organisations and for the better, you know, for the greater good. And so there are a lot of networks that I am part of. Organisations are at a lot of different stages on this, and we knowledge share the hell out of this, you know. And so I would say be really curious, speak to people and share your knowledge. You know, like if you are doing something, share it. You know, there are people just from an HR perspective, we share processes, we share how we change hearts and minds, all of that good stuff. So, but that curiosity piece is so important. You know, you will know better than I do. This landscape is changing day by day by day, hour by hour by hour. So there's no destination that will ever have reached on this, and so that learning piece I think is really, really critical to keep at the forefront of your mind on this as well.
I have to say I don't find that to be cliche. In fact, I actually wish I heard that more from companies. I find that there's a real sense of being very humble about this incredibly powerful and new technology. My experience has been quite the opposite often with companies, where I have been invited onto a call, having done this for, you know, dozens and dozens of organizations, and being told by somebody what they want to do and how they're going to do it. And because they've been told by their leadership, you're in charge of AI, go and you know, transform or go and sort of roll this out across the business. And I feel that there is a sense that many people who are put into this position feel that they need to have the answers. And I wish it were the case that more were quite humble and would sort of come on and say, help us, tell us, we don't really know what to do, what has worked with other companies. And I feel that there is going to be a lot of companies who come up against problems as a result of that, and it's nobody's fault. It's exactly, actually using the term that you said, it's like the pandemic. No one has done this before, so how would you know? Yeah, you just wouldn't.
I think that comes from potentially like a fear-based place where people, and I think, you know, sometimes this can be more prolific in leadership positions where you're supposed to know the answer.
Correct.
Right? You're just used to knowing the answer, and you're supposed to know the answer. And if you don't, that's a hugely scary place to be.
And a stain on you almost.
Yeah, like, why don't you know the answer? Everybody else is doing this. I think the reality is nobody knows the answer. And I think the more people just face up to that, you know, rather than, I think fear-based behaviour probably has a lot to answer for in those situations. People just don't like saying they don't know, whereas I think, you know, for all the situations ever, this is one that it's totally good to say, I don't know, help me, let's share. You know, and I think that sharing is so important within your organisation and through other organisations. And I have not come across a single person where I've said, you know, can we meet for a coffee, or can I pick your brains on this, or been on any kind of networking forum where people have not just been so gracious and so generous with sharing their information. So I would say, you know, to talk about your earlier point, if I was talking to a counterpart, I would say, like, just don't come at it with that approach. Yeah. You know, people are really, really happy to share because none of us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what now? Because you said it hasn't finished this journey.
No.
Where do you think this is going to go? Let's say over the next year, what will a successful next year look like with AI adoption?
So for us, we've started to, so we've got a very clear AI vision across the organisation, which has been communicated and communicated and communicated, so people know that. And again, just really spending a lot of time reminding people this is human-led, insight-led, like we're not trying to do anything else with this. That's certainly not our intention. And where we are now is really going into each department thinking really, really clearly about operationally looking at, what needs to be done, how it can be done better, building those things, making teams have their own strategies on it. So it's really about continuing that journey and making sure that we're continually making sure what we're doing is fit for purpose. And if something better comes along, then we pivot and change and do that. And I think, and that's all we're going to keep doing in the future. But, so it's sort of a little bit doing, the best you can with the knowledge you have at the moment, but also understanding that that is going to change. So you have to just, there's no destination that you're going to reach on this. It's just going to continue
continual upskilling,
continual evolution on this.
And so what is your approach towards new hires then? So they really will just go into the program and get the same training as the rest of the team?
Absolutely. And I think that's really important to us. And it's something that we've, discussed and thought about, because there is a point that people have made where you can now start to hire for certain levels of AI literacy. For us, it's always been about getting people who are the right people for the business, both from a technical and role-specific perspective, but also from a cultural, purpose-led perspective. Those two things are really important to us. For us, this is absolutely trainable. We know because we've done it. So it feels a little bit unfair to penalise people for their past journey where they just might not have been in an organisation that had the same approach to this. So for us, it's absolutely, and we think it's something that's really exciting for people to come and work with our business, right? Because you can come and this is something that's really exciting and it's integrated.
Can attract you to the business.
This is really fantastic as an opportunity. So absolutely. So it's nice if you've done it before, but also it's okay. Like we're all on this. It's so early in the journey that absolutely we're happy to train people and bring them along. So we've been partnering with your company now for about a year and nearly trained. I think we've got through the whole company. I think you have. Yeah. Apart from the new people who maybe joined last week.
I think we've just got to the end of the 150 people, and you'd had experiences before with other companies, but what would you say, what was the thing that you really liked about the training that we offered? Because there are lots of different types of AI training, and it's probably something to say that there are so many different flavors to the way that you can give this knowledge to people. What did you like about what we did?
Gosh, big question. Well, we like you, for a start. I think there's a really humanised approach to how you do train people, which is really important to us. Actually, people are vulnerable with this stuff. They don't know, and people have different levels of experience. And sometimes people think they're a little bit more, they're a bit further along the journey than they might actually be, which you find a little bit as well. What I think we really liked is the very clear balance of theory. This is how you do it. These are the models that you use, etc. But actually, the really great practical stuff. So people came out of it understanding step by step how they can do things. And once you understand how something works because you've dissected it, then you can rebuild it in any way. Like if you know how the Lego blocks fit together, you can build anything, right? You can build a house, you can build a castle, you can build whatever. But if you don't know how the Lego blocks fit together, then you're only ever going to move one bit around to the other bit. And so I really think that our staff have enormously benefited from being able to see inside the machine, which is what you've done. And you know that, there were times when I was in the training where I was really annoying. I was like, why are we doing this bit? Like, why are we doing this? And you were like, just trust me.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. I remember you saying that. And actually, once you can see inside the machine, it's like quite a magical thing, actually, because then you're like, oh, actually, I understand how to do this. Yeah. And then once you understand the how, you can do all sorts of wonderful things with it.
Teaching people how to fish.
Yeah, it's so I think for us that's been really really transformational, and I think we don't need people to come in and talk for hours about what AI is. Actually saying this is how the machine works. This is how you can do it, and let us create something for you. What you will help you build it in that you come out of the session having built something that already transforms your life is a pretty great example of it's that sort of show don't tell piece, which is amazing. And I've recommended you, as you know, to many of my CPOs, and they've always had a fantastic experience as well. I think that way of training people is really is really, from our perspective anyway, because we did do beauty parades and we did partner with other people. For us, that's been the thing that has really helped move the dial with people as well.
I always saw it as it was like those cooking classes that you would go in and they would teach you how to cook all the sort of deconstruct the dish, that you can cook the onions and the garlic and this is how you do it, but at the end of the cooking class you've actually built something you can take home and eat it for dinner. And it was that sort of approach.
But if someone only ever teaches you how to cook lasagna, it's no good to you unless you only want to eat lasagna forever.
100%.
So
so with all that, my last question, a belief that, and I ask this question because I think it's been a journey for all of us. For the vast majority of us, 3.5 years ago, until ChatGPT was, I think, sort of, launched on the masses without anybody knowing what this was, most of us had thought about AI from almost a science fiction perspective. We'd heard of these terms, or most people heard of these terms, AI and machine learning and so on, but it's been a journey for many people. And so what do you now know, or sort of you've changed your mind towards now, something that you probably held a belief about in the beginning?
I'm going to give you the really honest answer on this, even if it makes me look a little bit silly. I think that AI was quite scary when you first heard about it. And it is still scary, right? There are still, I grew up watching the Terminator movies, right? So that is still always at the forefront of my mind. And it's obviously news reports of all sorts of crazy things that AI is doing. I think for me, the belief that's probably changed if you channel this in the right way, it's so phenomenally transformative and useful, and can really help you do your job so much better and so much easier. That actually I'm less scared of it, if that makes sense.
It makes.
I'm going to leave the scary stuff for the people that actually know how to keep the scary monsters at bay.
It makes perfect sense. But it actually is very much, you've almost gone from the majority of people, I think, from a sci-fi understanding of AI to a practical understanding of it. And that journey there is what it sounds like you've gone on. Yeah. Tarinee, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, as always, to speak with you. And really, thank you so much for sharing that journey. I hope that it will really help others who are in a similar position to yourself and just starting out today to learn from those mistakes and learn from the successes and the way to do this, because I do believe that there is now a right and a wrong way of adopting AI inside of a business, and I think what you've shared today will really help people. So thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. And I just want to say thank you so much as well. Like, partnering with your organisation has been such an enormously beneficial part to why we've been able to do this so well. And I think I mentioned this to you earlier, but I'll mention it again. So part of it, we're now up for an award for excellence in AI adoption. I genuinely don't think that we would have got there without your help. From a skill set perspective, like our staff just wouldn't be able to do the phenomenal things that they can do without your help. So thank you.
Thank you. What's the award?
So it's excellence in AI adoption at the Personnel Today Awards, and we're up against some really big names. So we. I think I said to you, we've got no sort of, business being on that list, but we're enormously proud to be up against some really big guns on it. But it's been really good.
Thank you. There the proof is in the pudding. So there you go. Again,
thank you,
Tarinee, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.